Love, and I pray, God, that this ability that you've given us and the time you've given us, God, that we will look to you, God, because we know, God, there's nothing that we can do apart from you. And I also ask, God, that you would help one person here today, maybe one in here today, understand what your word is saying, and I pray that they will surrender to you at some point. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys, Mark chapter 2, let's read it real quick, and I'll explain a little bit about what it means. Once again, Jesus went out beside the sea, and a large crowd was gathering around him, and he was teaching them. When he was walking along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at a tax collector booth. And he said, "Follow me and be my disciple." And Jesus told him, and he got up and he followed Jesus. While Jesus was having dinner, Levi threw a banquet and a party for him after he started following Jesus. And then it says at the table, while Jesus was sitting down eating, he invited him to sit with other tax collectors and other sinners. And when the teachers of religious law saw this, he basically says, "Why is he eating with such scum?" And then Jesus overheard the Pharisees say this, and he says, "The healthy are not the ones who need a doctor." He says, "Sick people do." Jesus basically says, "I didn't come to call people who think that they're righteous. He came to call people who know that they're sinners." So back when I was playing ball in college, played college basketball 20-something years ago, man, I was running around doing everything the basketball team was doing. They were smoking, drinking. Some of them was even going to church. I understood the lifestyle. But I didn't really get serious about Jesus until one of my teammates got killed. Well, actually two. One got shot in the stomach in the club, and the other one died in the head-on collision. And then that's when I started to realize, like, man, I think what I'm living my life for is really meaningless at the end of the day. Even though I love basketball, those guys died and nobody even thought about them again. I mean, the guy that got shot in the stomach, he still had all his shoes and stuff in the closet. He had the girls' numbers that he was having sex with and running around with, and he had his shoes under the bed. And I remember walking up to his room, and his roommate was sitting in bed. And I looked at Larry and I said, "Larry, man, what are you going to do with all this stuff?" And he said, "Man, I called his parents to come get it. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it." Well, about a week later, I seen Larry, his roommate, the guy that got shot and got killed, walking across the campus with his rings on and his sweater on and stuff like that. So I recognized, I was like, I need to get serious about really, like, understanding what it looks like to follow Jesus, our God, whoever he is, because, man, that could have been me, and nobody even mentioned his name again. What I realized as I read this passage, man, I thought that Jesus really didn't want anything to do with somebody like me, because I was doing everything that the world was doing. But when I looked at this passage, he actually calls people of the worst people of their day, because this guy Levi that was sitting at the tax collector booth, he was one of those guys that was like hustling people for their money. The Roman government had hired him during that time, and he basically turned on his own people. And so they had a lot of money, but at this point, Levi had probably spent all the money, had all the sex, drugs, everything he ever wanted, but he was still dissatisfied. So when Jesus preached it to this crowd, thousands of people, he honed in on one despicable person that nobody wanted anything to do with. And he says, "I want you to follow me." And Levi kind of looked around like, "I know he ain't talking to me." Well, Levi got up and followed him, and that night, all the stuff he was using to party with, and he all out against God with, is actually using it for his glory now. And so that's what I want to do. I said, man, I surrender to Jesus. I said, man, I want to use everything that God has given me for his glory, because I was using it against him. And it wasn't doing anything but just kind of getting people to prison, getting DWIs, they got weed charges and stuff like that on the team. And ultimately, a lot of my teammates, man, they went into prison. Some of them got sexually transmitted diseases, some of them got HIV. A lot of them got kids out of wedlock. I said, man, I thank God that I turned around, I surrendered I bowed my knee to Jesus. I said, "God, whatever you want to do with me, I'm willing to follow you." He called me, man. And so now, man, I got called here from Arkansas. I was a campus minister in Arkansas. And I decided, I said, man, I want to come over here, man. I want to reach guys like y'all that was once like I was, and they really didn't care anything about God. But at some point, you're not going to understand. At some point, you're going to realize, like, you need him. Some of y'all already realize you need him. You just using basketball like I was using basketball as a cover-up. It just makes you feel good at the moment. When you leave, you got all these problems in the world that you know you can't handle. And you got to keep coming back to this to kind of get you high. That's the only thing that really makes you feel good. I was there. I understand where you're coming from. And the only time I felt like I worth something is if I won a basketball game, right? But man, when I gave my heart over to Jesus, man, I said, man, I'm living for a whole different purpose. And Levi, man, he used everything he had, his house, his money, and he threw a banquet for the only man that could save him. And who Levi invited? He invited all the despicable people that he was running around and saying, "Hey, man, you got to come and see this Jesus, the one that got, like, changed my whole direction." He invited all the girls he was sleeping with, prostitutes, the guys he was partying with, other tax collectors who sitting at the table, and all these religious people showed up. And Jesus basically was accused of being, here's what Jesus was accused of being. Back in Jesus' day, he got the title of being a friend of sinners. That's his title. They ultimately killed him, one, because he claimed to be God, And the other one was because he was a friend of sinners. He was messing up the religious system of the day. He was messing up the religious system. So as a result, Jesus came and blew all that up and said, no, I'm not about religion. He says, I'm about relationship. And basically what Jesus is about, I know what religion is. Every religion in the world says this, that if you perform, and if you cross your eyes and dot every T, I'm checking my list and checking it twice and trying to make sure you're not there night. And if you meet the standard on the day of judgment, you gotta look at your resume, your stat sheet, and see if you're required to get in. That makes sense? But see, that's religion. It's your performance and trying to impress God with your resume. But if you look at y'all resume and look at my resume, it's unimpressive. It really is. I mean, I see some of y'all cussing in here and lying and doing everything else here. Y'all just like I am. You see what I'm saying? Some of y'all come here smelling like, I know that lifestyle, I understand. Some of y'all don't care anything about God, I understand that. But it's going to come a point that you have to face God on the day of judgment. You can face him on the day of judgment, you can face him now. It's coming. But Jesus is not, what I'm telling you guys is Jesus is not about performance. You can get up in the plane and I can try to flap your arms and save yourself. 10,000 feet, you're not going to save yourself. That's religion. Nobody can impress God. But Jesus is the parachute. The parachute takes you 8 miles to the ground. Jesus is about a relationship. Let me tell you what the difference is in this flow. The difference between religion and a relationship is, God says, on religion, you're on your own. You're just trying to perform. And you know you can't meet the standard. That's why you keep going back to the same stuff. But relationship says, I know you can't meet the standard, but I'm walking next to you, and I'm going to help you meet the standard. And every time you fall, I'm there. If you need somebody to talk to, I'm there. If you step out of line, I'm going to put you back in line, because I'm a good father. I'm going to bless you when you need to be blessed. See, he's with you in a relationship. Religion, you're on your own. So if you follow the religion and try to get to Jesus, you're in trouble. If you follow Jesus by repenting and saying, God, I can't do this on my own, that's when God comes and acquires personal responsibility for you as a son of God, and he begins to walk you out of the stuff that you're destroying yourself with. Let me pray. Thank you so much for this time to be with these young men. And I know, God, basketball is one of those things we run to try to find our identity. And I pray that this is one young man that recognizes maybe a little bit about how we've felt in this Bible. And I pray, God, that you would call him and maybe have an opportunity to talk to him and show him just how good you are, Father. I pray that you give everybody today protect you and us to have a good time of basketball.
Hey, can nobody stop him, can you? Quick. He just going you? You pride yourself for being a deep stop. That's cool. I want to kind of get y'all hit a record. 15-minute running clock, 10 minutes. That's a record here. Maybe since I've been here. Y'all got anything how do y'all feel like y'all did it, man? What was it?
Teamwork. There's no competition. Teamwork.
Hey, no, bro, it was teamwork still, bro. We was swinging the ball.
Y'all was very unselfish.
Everybody was playing the team side.
Y'all play hard.
Y'all play good basketball.
Do any of y'all got any like a basketball background, college or high school?
All of us, right? Yeah, play K State.
You play basketball at K State?
Yeah.
Okay.
I played
Anyone of y'all going on to play like college basketball? I know I talked to you already. You going to
E2 right here.
I just got done with prep. I don't know where I'm gonna go yet, though. College.
get some of these beans too? Let Joker get up like that, man. How they make you get? How they make you catch like this today? Are you serious, man? Are you serious, man? How long you been doing that, man?
Like 2 years.
That's crazy, man. That's real easy. All right, man. Appreciate you doing that. And you do this, I never play basketball again.